how are you?
Well, darling, I'm sort of nested, but I still have another week. I just had another test and I still have it, so
Oh no.
not very good.
I literally just found out. I had no idea, so I'm really sorry to hear that.
Well, I was so hoping that I would be all fine and dandy for this event, but anyway.
Well, you look great, so that's all that matters.
That's all that matters, really. Makes for a lovely corpse.
Who's gonna mummify you?
I don't trust my students enough, let me tell you.
Yeah.
You don't want to end up like Flopsy, do you?
I think we need to have a bit more practice. So once this is over, I'm going to have intensive practice sessions so that I know that I will get decent mummification.
Are you going to be mummified?
Well, no, actually, I'm quite happy to be pressed into the earth somewhere near the pyramids.
Oh, okay. Because you and I need to have a conversation about how to get mummified, because I have my own death mask already, so.
No, well, I have all, my friend's supposed to be finishing carving my stela, but I think I'm going to have several, and I'm going to have cenotaph, and I'm going to put all over the country. And
we're all going to dedicate a stela to you, okay?
You definitely need one at Bidos, obviously, so.
Oh, God, yes, I mean, really, of course. And I like, pardon, I just have to say that I'm very pleased to see that there's a bear attending.
It's Gwyn.
Professor Teddy Edward.
Hello, Teddy. Mine are in my bedroom, being comforting when I'm in need.
What's their names?
Oh, well, Teddy, of course, who is as old as I am. And then there's Bunny, who is obviously a rabbit. There's Lambie, who's a lamb. Then there's Breasted Bear, because he's an explorer bear, named after James Henry Breasted. And there's Pinky, because he's very pink.
Oh, cute.
And, then there's my crocodile. Yeah, I've got...
Is he so big?
No.
Let me guess. Snappy.
No. Querulous croc.
Querulous croc. That's a mouthful.
Sounds like a Beatrix Potter character.
The querulous croc, yes. He is mummified, but he's very sweet nonetheless.
Oh, sweet. So I see we have, so far everyone is joined. I see more people are joining, but I think we should get started with the interview. What do you say?
Absolutely.
Great. I don't want to keep you too long. I don't want you to run out of breath or something. So.
Yeah, and you're too far away to do something about it.
I know. I can't like CPR you via Bluetooth. So let us commence. Everybody, thank you so much for joining. We are joined today by Dr. Salima Ikram. Salima Ikram is, in my opinion, and probably is the fact, that she is one of the most distinguished female Egyptologists and Egyptologists in general. Salima is a professor, she's an author, an archaeologist, and she is also a mummy expert. So we don't actually know much about Salima. We've seen Salima often. She's appeared in about 40 documentaries now. I don't think you can actually watch a documentary without Salima popping in. And I don't think we would have it any other way. So, you know, we don't know a lot about Salima, the person. So I wanted to know a little more about Salima. So she's joined us. So hi, thank you, Salima, for joining us.
Hello, nice to see you all.
So Salima, thank you for taking the time to talk to our group here today. I really, really appreciate it. So you're a very busy lady. I wanted to know, what was it about history that inspired you? Were you always interested in ancient Egypt? How did that come about?
Well, I have to say 1 second. I'm just going to turn off my things that are pinging. So I don't know, I'm trying to think very hard. I think I just like stories. I love stories. And so history is basically a story. Some of it is our personal stories, but some of it is stories of lots of other people. And it's true, as an academic, you realize how much of history is a story made up with very few facts. But I think it's just sometimes when I first saw, I read a book which was totally fiction, but it was about Theseus and the Minotaur. And it was beautifully illustrated. It was the retelling of the Theseus story. And I thought, oh, wow, this is amazing. And of course, I thought all of these people had lived and had these astonishing lives. And then my mother gently broke the news that this was a story, but she gave me a book about the Minoans. So I was totally entranced by them until I met the Egyptians. And then I was kind of obsessed. And I think I came to Egypt when I was 9.5, and I went into the Great Pyramid, and then we went to see Tutankhamun. He was 9 when he ascended the throne. I was 9. Obviously, we were best friends. And then there was Rahotep and Nofret, whom I saw, and I thought they were alive. And I think at that point I had this epiphany, and these people became for me the most important people in the world, and I wanted to know more about them. So,
what was it about Rahotep and Nefret that you loved so much?
I think it's, I'm short right now, but at 9 I was shorter, and I walked in and there was no glass around them. And I sort of bumped against the surround that there was, and I looked up and I thought they were real, because you know how they're beautifully painted.
It was beautiful.
And I was just convinced that they were real people. And I just looked at them and I just thought, first I apologized, I'm so sorry. And then I realized that they were statues. And then there was this sort of funny thing going on in my mind. And I just thought, these are my people.
With them?
Well, I did apologize. I'm so, and I was like, why aren't you answering? Are you that offended? And why are you sitting down in a museum? But it was only when my mother was laughing at me hysterically that I realized that there was something off.
Yeah. And your parents, were they supportive of your desired career path in Egyptology?
My parents were very pleased that I was interested in history, and I did well in school in history. And I did keep telling them I was going to be an archaeologist, but somehow they didn't believe it. Because when it came time for me to go to college, and they said, "Oh, what are you going to major in?" And I looked at them like, what's wrong with you? And I said, well, archaeology. And they looked at me like, no, you must do something else. So they were very supportive till that moment. Though now, of course, they'll say, of course, we were always supported. That hiatus, those 4 years of lack of support or lack of enthusiasm was that my brother used to call me up and say, you're making them miserable. I can't believe you're being so responsible. How can you do archaeology? There's no future in it. And I said, no, but there's a great past.
What did they want you to study?
As something practical, so I would have a job.
Well, you are a doctor now, so...
but not the right kind.
Have you ever been on a plane and someone's like, I need a doctor, and you were like, oh, I am, but I can tell you how to mummify him once he's dead?
I don't think that would go down a treat. But yeah, no, it's I don't think many people's parents jump up and down for joy when their child says, oh, I'm going to be an Egyptologist.
Yeah.
So
you grew up in Pakistan. What was that like? Did they teach you about Egyptian history in school, or how was that?
Actually, I didn't grow up in Pakistan. I've grown up in many places. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, in Lahore, in Islamabad, Pakistan, in outside Washington, DC, in England. So I've been bobbing about rather. And in Pakistan, no, you do not learn about ancient Egypt. If you have a mother like mine, though, you learn about a great many things, thank God. So you know your Greek myth, Hindu myths, you know your Bible, you know your everything else, and history.
Yeah.
And my grandfather, actually, he was a civil servant by day, but he was a historian by night. So maybe some of it's sort of genetic predisposition.
Exactly.
I always bring my
That rubs off
grandfather
on
up.
you.
Yeah, whenever my parents are being difficult, but I'd say, but Dadaji did this, so it can't be wrong. And my father goes,
Oh, wow. Well, I'm sure your grandfather would be very, very proud of you. So you studied in many places, but you studied mainly at Cambridge. What were you like as a student?
some essays were better than others. Some tutorials were better than others, let us say. One might be obsessed by one subject. That doesn't mean one always puts in the amount of time that one ought to, because there are many distractions. I did go to 6 May balls one year. So obviously I'm spending all my time studying.
Well, you know, I think you need a good balance between study and fun and all of that. Definitely. So how did you end up living in Egypt?
Totally by accident. My husband, who was my fiancé at the time, I couldn't get married to someone who didn't like Egypt. So the big test was, I was doing my dissertation research and I said, well, why don't you come and visit? And he did. He was a little bit insulting about the Sphinx. So it was touch and go at that moment.
What did he
Almost sort
say?
of kicked him off. It's not that big and it's not very attractive. I know. But anyway, Nicholas wound up falling in love with Egypt as well. And I was finishing up my PhD and he decided that he was a bit bored with, he's an architect, doing bathrooms and kitchens. So he, in fact, put in for 2 grants. One was to go to Rome and the other one was to come to Cairo. And we got married and he actually didn't really discuss this with me because he accepted the Cairo post when I would be like, wait, we could have gone to live in Rome for a year. It would have been fantastic. But anyway, we wound up in Cairo for a year. We managed to extend his grant for 6 more months. We ate lots of vegetables and we ate lots of vegetables all the time. And we're not vegetarians. And I dug with lots of people. I gave lectures to whoever would bear to listen to me. I wrote for anyone who would pay me. I would lead groups if I was being paid. So we managed to cobble together an existence and we lasted a bit. And then AUC hired me for occasional courses.
Yeah.
And basically we liked it very much in Egypt and we couldn't figure out where to go. So we kept saying, well, when we are going to grow up, we'll go somewhere else. And then I got a job at AUC and we stayed here. And I guess we've never really grown up.
I would say so. That's actually quite an accomplishment, I would think.
I think it's very important not to grow up because if you become an Egyptologist who's grown up, then you're probably going to turn into a very boring person.
Exactly. Egyptology's got so many things that you have to giggle at, so. Did you face any obstacles, Salima, when you were starting out as an Egyptologist?
Oh God, yes. One of the reasons my father was not keen on my doing Egyptology was because I am not Egyptian and I am not English or American or French or German or Italian. So in fact, I had no backing. And he said to me, you'd have to do twice as well as anyone else if you're going to succeed, because no one's going to help you. And I actually, even now, cannot apply to most grants because I don't have the right nationality. I can sometimes be a co-PI, but I can't apply to a lot of funding. So that makes it really difficult to raise funds for my excavations, which is why I am so grateful to the private donors who have made it possible for me to, or private foundations that make it possible for me to carry out my work, because otherwise I couldn't. I can't apply to the NEH, I can't apply to the NSF, I can't apply to the Wellcome. You know, there are millions of things I cannot apply to. And once in England, I applied to something and they first said I had it. And then they said, we're so sorry, you're not. And I found out it was because it was for Christian men. And since I obviously am not a man and I'm not Christian, I could not take a scholarship. So anyway, yes, there are challenges. It's not easy because I'm sort of under the great rubric of other.
Yeah. Well, we need to start up some sort of foundation for the other section.
Yeah,
I think that,
absolutely. We do.
yes, yes. And we can go fund our own things and do our own things and find and make great discoveries. And then we can be like, take that.
Yeah. I mean, for people from South Africa, they had that challenge. I have a student and we had to create ways for her to come and study and get funding, because of course there are very few people, although there are people in South Africa interested, and there is a group there. I know of one in Cape Town, certainly. It's quite tricky and hard for people to study Egyptology. I know Saki Cornelius is a friend of mine, he teaches in Stellenbosch. But so one of my things is also to get more people who are in African universities to have the opportunity to come to Egypt to study and then to pursue a career in Egyptology.
Yeah, well, that would be great. That would be something I would be interested in doing myself. Yeah, but Salima, you have published so many books, academic publications, magazine articles, forwards, and the like. How do you deal with writer's block if you get writer's block?
I have one of my favorite comic strips was given to me by a former student. And it's all about writer's block because I have awful writer's block. I'm terrified of writing. It is very traumatic, and this is a skill that one keeps learning and learning and learning. You never really learn to write properly. It's just constantly an improvement. Well, sometimes you go whoop, down. So by now I try and silence the voice in my head that says, this is rubbish. Stop writing bollocks, you know nothing, and just to try and power through and write anything down, because then I know now the next day I can throw it away, press delete, it's gone, no one knew it ever happened, and I can start afresh. Some people have the gift of, they love writing, they do it all the time and it flows, and for me it's, you know, sometimes it's I'm unzipping my brain and letting it all fall in, and then hopefully I can shove it into the right places.
Put the puzzle back together.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I struggle sometimes with writer's block, but when I get into the zone, I go, 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 go. Do you do that when you're in the zone?
Sometimes. Well, when I'm in the zone, yes, but then you have to be very, very careful, because at 2:30, 3 o'clock, I think, oh my God, this is amazing. And this is what we learned to call at college the bullshit zone, because at that point you think what you're writing is brilliant, beautifully crafted sentences that make complete logical sense. And then the next morning you realize that zone was kind of messed up. So I guess I don't have that many zones I trust, because I feel one is constantly, well, one spends a lot of time being self-critical.
Yes, yes. I'm going to take that advice on.
But,
Thank you. I'm going to be careful of my
yes.
zone at 3 a.m.
Yes, but it would be fair enough. Be careful of that 3 a.m. zone when everything sounds great. But I mean, you know, the other thing is, one gets really bored after a while of writing things with footnotes. And I did a book with a friend of mine, which is a children's book, which is based on, you know, real. But it was so much fun to write, and we didn't have to have footnotes.
Is
I
that
can't tell
fun
you what a
kid
joyous
thing?
thing it is. Yes, fun things to do with tread animals.
Interesting title indeed. I have a copy of your CV, which is possibly the most impressive list of studies and accomplishments I have ever seen. You're also an archaeozoologist. What is it about mummies that fascinates you?
Well, one of the things I tell students is that you need to have two strings to your bows in case Egyptology doesn't work out. So my second string is archaeozoology, which is looking at the bones of animals from either burial contexts, such as mummies, or foundation deposits, ritual contexts, or else middens, trash heaps. And mummies, my dissertation was on meat production in ancient Egypt, and we have food mummies. So in order to study them, I learned archaeozoology. And the animal mummy room had always been a favorite room of mine in the Egyptian Museum when I was little. And when I came back to live with Nicholas, I saw that the room had sort of been locked up for ages, hadn't been looked after. So I thought it needed a facelift. And that's how I got into animal mummies.
Okay. So that's really interesting. Which animal mummy was it that like you really thought, wow?
I think it was the concept of having all of these creatures, this entire zoo in a room. And because when people mention the mummies, they don't explain them. So I think I was actually the first person to formally identify them as different types, to create a typology of animal mummies, and then to try and understand how they all fit together and what you do with them. Though other people had, of course, been working on them in different ways, and my total heroes, Alochte and Gaillard, who are the people who created the collection of the animal mummies in the Cairo Museum and also in the museum in Lyon. And they did it because they were interested in natural history. So that's how come.
Yeah. And you just mentioned that you studied meat production in ancient Egypt. So you and I have discussed about biltong before, but there's going to be some people here who have no idea what that even is. Have you made it? Have you tried it? Have the Egyptians made something similar?
So biltong is basically air-dried meat, often with spices. Nowadays, of course, when it's mass produced, you use ovens and so on. So I had been looking at mummified meat and also figured out that there was biltong. And at that point in Harrods, they were selling some biltong because I was doing my PhD in England. And I got in touch with the guy who was making it, and he was from South Africa. And he didn't want to. First, he thought he agreed to talk to me on the phone, and he thought, "Who is this crazy woman who's talking to me about biltong and ancient Egypt?" And I said, you know, he didn't want to give me his secret recipe, and when I convinced him, I didn't want his top secret recipe. I just wanted the concept. Then he sort of got okay, and he told me all about it. And then I went to Harrods, and he gave me this bag of biltong, different kinds to eat. But it is basically dried meat. And so obviously Cambridge, England does not have the same climate as Egypt, but my first experimental work was to go to the butchers, and the Cambridge butchers all became my friends because I would go and pester them with questions and buy bits of meat. And so I made biltong and I salted it and I put different spices and I hung it in different paste places throughout my apartment. And then after, I kept thinking, is it ready to eat? How do I know? I would invite my friends over and I would give them enough gin that they would be willing to do just about anything. And I would say, here, eat it, test drive my biltong. And so they did. And then I made it in Egypt as well, which took a bit more gin to convince my friends to eat, but everyone's still alive. So the ancient Egyptians made biltong. I wrote a whole article about, did the ancient Egyptians make biltong? And I'm still experimenting. Yep, they did. Good African tradition.
Exactly. There we go. Nothing's changed. What did you think of it?
A bit too chewy, but you should just start giving it to people to eat sooner.
Okay.
It's a hard moment to decide. But it was really interesting. When you hang it up, because it had salt on it, no flies would go to it, because I hung up one bit with no salt and the other one that had salt and spices, and the flies just kept away for anything with salt on it. And all the bugs went to the other one. That was my test biltong.
Did it sort of help you to sort of maybe figure out some things with mummification, like, oh, this is how the meat's drying? Or
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you learn a lot by doing things. It's all right to sort of read about it, but to do it makes a big difference.
Yeah. So if you were to live in ancient times, when and where would that be?
I would live in the Old Kingdom. And I would hope that I'm not a peasant, but I would live in the Old Kingdom anyway. Because the Old Kingdom is the best time. The fourth dynasty is when I would want to live. I do not want to be in the late. No. And after that, it all goes downhill, really. So, yeah.
What about the 19th? The 19th was amazing.
Oh, God, no. Yuck. Ramses. Ew.
Oh, Salima.
Seti, maybe. Seti, okay. But Ramses, are you kidding me? God, Curtis, no. Little bombastic upstart.
you just broken my heart.
He had good wives, though. The wives were good.
The wives were good.
The wives are good. He was a jerk. The wives were good.
I don't know how I feel now about Sharon Haig saying I have Ramsay's nose and what you think of him.
Oh, well, you can, let's see your profile again. Turn around, let me see. It's a bit smaller than his, but nice. No, I mean, his nose good. He had a good profile, but, he was really, so he must have been terribly insecure to go on like that. Always usurping other people's things, being full of himself. No, just boring.
I mean, the Ramses brand is throughout Egypt. I mean, you can't ignore the fact he's everywhere.
Well, that's because he stole from people. Let's not forget that it's not him, it's other people. Seti, on the other hand, now that is a man who had amazing aesthetic sense. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yes,
all of
his art was very fine.
Yeah, his art was very fine. Maybe not so much in the way of wives, but the art was very good.
Exactly. Salima, what is the strangest thing that's ever happened to you during an excavation?
Having it collapse on me when I've been in a hole and having to be pulled out.
No.
Yes. One of the first digs I was on was in Greece. And because I was the tiniest person there, I was sent down this hole and I was digging it up. And in the end, it turned out to be a weird, it had so much stuff because it was a corner where 3 houses joined, but suddenly the whole thing started to collapse on me. So these large people managed to pull me out before the whole thing came in, and I was sealed inside a crypt. That was kind of scary.
How did that affect you? Do you have a fear of going inside unexcavated tombs properly, or?
No, I love going, as Nicholas says, oh God, there's a hole, she's going to go down it. Or he and Aiden both say the same thing, because they're like, oh, there she goes again. And now with my knees, it's a bit harder, but I've learned a new technique of wriggling into a hole. So yeah, it did not terrify me, thank God, because I spend a lot of time going down into dark, small, constrained spaces that other people don't want to go into, because you never know what you're going to find.
Snakes, mummies, scorpions.
I like. Don't mind
I have
them.
a phobia of going inside a
Bats.
pyramid, so
Bats
I admire you.
Oh my dear, I'm so sorry. Come with me, we'll get you over it. Maybe.
We'll try.
We can try.
Yeah. But why don't you just go full Fourth Dynasty and get the guys to carry you around on like a Hitta Perez kind of sedan chair into the tombs?
Oh, we've actually discussed this, because when my knees were bad, my students were all ready to do that. In the interim, around campus, they put me on one of those wheelie chairs, not a proper wheelchair, but a wheelie chair. So they would be whizzing me through from place to place. So I've had my equivalent with my poor student on my excavation, actually, with Jose Galan. They said, you can't climb up there. And so they put me in a chair, and 4 workmen picked up the chair and took me to the top of the hill.
That's fantastic.
There you go. So yeah, over here most things are possible. So that during that time I would be, sticking half of my body in, because I couldn't go into some of the spaces because my legs wouldn't let me. And I'd be screaming down saying, do it there, dig there, no, over to the right. La, 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 la. So it was very funny.
We need a video of that. Did someone film it?
No videos that show one's posterior is my rule.
Okay. I'll remember that.
Remember that, darling. Not that all film companies listen, because you're like, no, up. I don't, or, go further back. No one needs to see this. You don't want to surprise people, do you?
What has been the highlight of your career thus far?
That is really hard to say. I have been, alhamdulillah, extraordinarily, knock on wood, lucky. I was the first person to open a tomb after 2,500 years in Meroe. And when I opened it, I could smell the incense that they had burned when they had buried that person.
Oh, wow. What did it smell like?
It was definitely beautiful incense, which is more frankincense-y. And then, I was involved with KV63. I got to open up jar after jar after jar. And then there's another in TT11. We found all of these animal mummies beautifully intact. No one had looked at them.
Oh.
So, mashallah, alhamdulillah, there have been a lot of amazing things that I have had the opportunity to do, to figure out that there was a lion club buried, a female probably, buried in Saqqara was pretty amazing. So,
yeah. Well, we hope that you continue to keep doing this for a very long time.
I would love to, but who knows? But it is great fun. And now, of course, my parents, I think, we're very proud of you, and we knew it would be all right.
And you can say, well, mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. I say thank you so much. But
You
I
have to
mean,
dedicate a book to them.
oh, a couple, but they did, you know, they did in the end. They said, this is the deal. And I said, I understand. And as I said to my father, I will work extra hard. And then I did become a better student. I did get enough scholarships, so it was all right. And I also said, and I know that if the worst comes to the worst, I can wash dishes.
Yes, yes. You were that crazy about ancient Egypt.
I had a realistic grip. Yeah.
It had you, yeah. What has been the proudest moment of your personal life?
Curtis, I don't have a personal life.
Oh, no.
No, I don't even know what that means. Ancient Egypt is having my students do well. That's pretty fantastic. But that's it, I guess.
Well, if your work is your life and your life is your work, I think you are on the right track there. If you're loving every minute of it.
Yep. I mean, there are obviously moments of deep frustration, but I think in terms of what comes closest to my having a personal life, you know, I have a lovely husband, but I guess it's when my students do something, when they graduate, when they give a great paper, when they publish their first article. Those are moments that I am very proud of. And that's, I guess, the closest I would have to a personal life.
I remember you mummified a friend's cat. Now, was that an emotional experience, or were you able to separate in your mind science and emotion?
It was more emotional for the friend. I'm allergic to cats, so whenever I went to the house, the cat had to be locked up.
Oh.
So it was an emotional for me.
And you're excavating now at the Bubastion, and it must be like, oh.
Well, I mean, that is Dr. Waziri's excavation. I was just there as a guest, but I have excavated other cat burials in other places, and yeah, no, I actually don't mind. I like cats. I think they're exquisite creatures. They're beautiful, amazing things.
Yes.
But I just wish that they didn't make me sneeze or stop breathing.
Yeah.
But
you are actually a movie star now, Salima. That's another one to add.
Not quite a star, but it was very accidental, I have to tell you.
How did that come about? I mean, the movie's called Luxor. Have you seen it yet?
I had to see it. I never watch anything I'm in, but I saw it because we had to do a Q&A for Sundance twice. So I thought I better watch it. Oh, nice cat. So a friend of a friend's, who now has become my friend, is a film director, and she'd written a script and she had questions. So I was basically guiding her through the Egyptology and also through other things. And she hadn't really been to Egypt, although she has Middle Eastern blood. She's not from here. So I was explaining things and this, that, and the other. So I went through the script with her a couple of times, and she had a character based on me. And then she wanted to film in my tomb. I mean, not my tomb, KB10. So I
501.
So as we were going to work in KB10, I thought I should be there. She had said, actually, I really wanted to be in my film. And I was like, oh, come on. I mean, I can't be in your film. I'm an Egyptologist. She said, you just have to do Egyptology. I said, okay, fine. So I went down and I was there. And then I thought, oh my God, they're real actors here. So there's Andrea Risborough and people like that. And I was like, okay, here I am knowing nothing. And then you have to, I thought I'd just be in the tomb saying, here, look at this nice wall, and here, look at this object, and that's it. And Zena said, no, you're going to do this, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do this. And I was
These
like,
are lines.
I had lines, Curtis. It was terrifying. In the end, though, she said, it's okay, because I was like, I would never say this. This is not appropriate. And then and there were bits that she said, just tell people what to say, because it was Egyptological. So I did. So luckily I could stray a bit from the script. But it was really interesting to work with a movie crew as opposed to a documentary crew, because it's completely different.
Yes.
How they do things, what they look at, the amazing shots. So recently I've worked with more documentaries that are doing things that are very cinematic, but it was fantastic. And, you know, they had like 4 cameras and doing this. They cut out one scene where I'm a terrible driver, but they had this completely clapped out car I was supposed to drive. I couldn't reach brake, could not reach it, Curtis. And I was supposed to reverse, and I'm not being able to reach either the accelerator or the brake. So I'm down like this, I'm trying to reverse, and the guy's like screaming because I'm about to kill someone. No wonder they took that out of the film.
That could have been a really good scene. I wish I kept it.
I think the outtakes are hilarious. And then there was this other one where I'm driving, and again, every time I have to put the brake on, I go, so that I could reach it. And there was no starter. There were holes in the floor. There was air coming in, and our heroine's like, oh, it's coming through again. And, you know, everyone's putting their legs in weird positions so that they don't touch the tarmac. So it was very exciting because they'd asked for a clapped out car for the archaeologists, but I think they'd really gone a bit too far this one.
Exactly.
But it was fun to do. It was really interesting, and Zina did a beautiful job. That's the director, and of course, it was a privilege to work with Andrea and Karim and to see how proper actors do their stuff. I don't know how they manage it, the transformation.
Vanessa says it sounds like one of the taxis she was in Egypt.
I feel sorry for Vanessa on that one.
Salima, you also very graciously helped me with my Redbubble face mask charity campaign, which for each mask sold, another one was donated to the Heart to Heart International Foundation. Thus far, we have sold 1,700 masks.
Bravo! That's
Thank you.
wonderful.
So can you imagine what the Egyptians would do in a situation like what we're facing in the world today? The ancient Egyptians, I mean.
I think they would be making lots of statues to Sekhmet. And, you know, that's one of the reasons people think that there are so many Sekhmet statues. It was in response to a plague. And they would be all going around with a lot of linen wrapped around their faces and hopefully trying to be a bit cleaner. Lots of face masks, and they would be burning a lot of incense because to clear the air.
And beer?
And offerings of beer and wine. I don't think they would have figured out social distancing. They haven't still, really.
Well, some of the tomb pictures, it's sort of social distancing.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It would have been very hard. And I mean, can you imagine? Because I've had this breathlessness, and alhamdulillah, I'm not that bad as some people I know. But when you are gasping for a breath and there is no recourse to a ventilator, can you imagine how horrible it must have been?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that you are at least getting better and your breathing is becoming better.
Hope so.
Yeah. But you actually, talking about breath, you actually have one of the most beautiful speaking voices. And you lent me your voice to my documentary where you read one of Nefertari's letters to the Hittite queen, Pudahipa. What is your opinion on women's status in ancient Egypt, particularly the 19th dynasty?
I think that ancient Egyptian women enjoyed a much higher social and, you know, generally status than anyone else in the ancient world. It is only in sort of 500 BC onward that it suffered. because before that, I mean, the Old Kingdom, it was very high, but even though it sort of peaked in various times, but especially if you were a queen, I think you had a lot of independence. You had financial independence. You could make decisions. You could, we know from the 18th and the 19th dynasty, queens were carrying out diplomatic relations, as we had with Nefertari, but Nefertiti as well, with major, Queen T, with major players. And not just their wives, with the kings as well as with the queens. So Egyptian women, even if they were peasants, had a lot more rights than any other woman in the ancient world. Women could own property, they could buy property, sell property, head businesses, dispose of their material wealth as they please, hire lawyers, be lawyers. So we do know that women had a much greater range of freedom and sort of roles in ancient Egypt than in any other ancient culture in the world.
Yeah.
Only went to pop when we got the Greeks here. Just saying.
Exactly. What is your favorite book that you've written?
Oh, I don't know. I think maybe fun things to do with dead animals. And in a way, what I like best is my introduction to ancient Egypt. Though the best fun to write was, apart from fun things, was The Mummy. Aidan and I had a good time, and I loved researching the mummy in ancient Egypt. That was terrific. But I have to say that it was, I was just giving a lecture to some students in America, and they have my book as their textbook. And it was really lovely to hear them talk about it and get pluses and minuses and everything, feedback from them about it. And then I felt that I'd actually done something that was really worthwhile when you have hundreds of students who like ancient Egypt because of something you've said. And that was a really terrific feeling.
Oh, that's wonderful. So who inspires you?
All sorts of people inspire me. Sometimes my students inspire me. My former professor and former colleague, Faiza Hakel, is a constant source of inspirational. Bruni Ridgway, whom I studied under. And of course, the great, magnificent Barry Kemp, whom I could never even aspire to touch, but he is still the greatest living archaeologist in Egypt and one of the greatest minds to engage with ancient Egypt. Barry is the tops. So he will always be for me there. Because I remember when I was an undergraduate in America and my professor said to me, because I was struggling to articulate what I wanted to do, what I was really interested in, because I wasn't interested in kings and political history. I wanted to know what people did, how the Egyptians lived, nitty-gritty about their life. And I wanted to do it through good archaeology. And so Dick Ellis gave me this book called Man, Settlement and Urbanism. And he said, read it. And read that thing by Kemp. And I did. And I felt like I was high. It was amazing. So I read that all the things on Egypt there. And then I just, that was it. Barry Kemp became my man. And since I had always been supposed to go to Cambridge because it was a family thing, I was so pleased that I could go there and then study with this divinity. And I have to say, I had the best supervision. Sometimes Barry was awful.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was amazing. It was like having your brain tickled. And that's what makes it worthwhile, is when someone makes it so that you can have sparkles going off in every bit of your brain. And it was great. So there we go.
Barry Kemp is wonderful. When I did my dedication for a block at Amarna for the temple, I bought 4 blocks and I wanted them to be each one dedicated in hieroglyphs. So I did the translation and I sent it through, and they said, okay, so we're going to get Barry to write these down because we're not good at drawing hieroglyphs. And he emailed back and he said my translations were perfect. I was like, wow. I was very happy with him. So he's a very lovely man.
He's absolutely amazing. And in fact, all of those blocks were my husband helped procure them for the temple.
Oh, good.
So it winds up being interconnected.
So we're always connected forever and ever. So I just remembered you went to Cambridge. My mom is here. Just come in and say hi. Here's Cheryl.
Hi, Salima. Hi, everybody.
My mom worked at the Anchor Bar in Cambridge.
Oh my God! The many hours I've wasted there. Oh, not wasted. They were very good hours.
Yes, beautiful place.
Oh my God! I had no idea. How wonderful!
On Silver Street.
Yep.
Street. Yep.
On Silver Street. Yes, on Silver Street.
Would it be hilarious if you pulled a pint for Salima?
Maybe I pulled a pint for you.
You would always give me cider or wine, no pints.
Would have been, yes, probably. Yeah. Oh, that is amazing. That is amazing.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah, and I have a friend, her name is Alpaniki, she's Greek, and you and her, you look just like each other. And I said to Curtis one day, you know, maybe we'll make a movie and we'll use Alpaniki to be Salima. And here he is talking to you. How's that?
Yeah.
But
So
yeah, you guys carry on. Lovely to chat, and I'm enjoying the interview. It's great.
Lovely to meet you.
So I just have some final quick fire questions before we take a few questions from the viewers. So are you ready? Okay. On your marks. Okay. Your favorite place in Egypt?
Cara,
Favorite artifact?
Rahotep and Nofret,
Favorite pharaoh?
Khufu or Snefru.
Favorite queen?
Ooh, that's hard. Hatshepsut, perhaps. Boring, but you know, she was amazing.
Ahead of her time as well. Favorite place apart from Egypt?
There's anywhere else?
No, I think there's only one country around, so.
Yeah.
Strangest thing you have mummified?
Well, it wasn't strange. It was just difficult. Sheep.
Sheep. I think I saw that.
It's kind of tricky. The stomach, they had to take that out because I almost dropped it.
I admire you. A discovery that you still want to see made?
Cambyses army.
Cambyses army. Interesting choice. Yeah. So, Salima, one last question, but before I get to that, I just want to say, when I released my documentary about Nefertari a few months ago, I received a really bad comment. Someone was like attacking me badly, and you sent me a really nice email giving me some really nice words of encouragement. And I used to watch you when I was like 6 years old on TV, and I used to say, Salima Ikram and Zahi Hawass, I love those two. I want to be like them when I'm older. So to receive that message from you, it really touched me so much. So thank you for that.
No one should have been mean like that. That was ridiculous.
Thank you. So my question is, what is the one piece of advice you could give to someone wanting to become an Egyptologist?
always have a second string to your bow and do your best work, and also do what you are interested in. Because if you choose something just because you think it's the right thing, you won't put your heart in it. And this is all about doing something with your full heart and passion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Salima. This was so much fun. Now, I think if we still have some time, is it okay if we answer a couple questions from the audience? We'll take maybe around 4 or 5 questions, if that's all right.
Sure.
So I don't know how this works, so I'm just going to say whoever unmutes and asks their question first, go for it.
I've got a question.
Man.
Merit Neith, first dynasty pharaoh's wife, she was also ruling as a pharaoh. What do you know of her? What do you think of her?
I think she was amazing, probably. We don't know very much about her at all. We have her wonderful big stela and her tomb, but there is little information. But she obviously was someone who was powerful. She could have come from the Delta. She was ruling and she was respected. But I mean, in the early days, that also shows us that there wasn't this gender dichotomy that was so strong that increasingly took over, because there were women who, if they were able, would just step in and do whatever was needed to be done, and people wouldn't question it. So I think Mary Neith was quite a powerful, strong person and steered Egypt solidly during that time period.
And just before I pass on to someone else, look, I'm an author and I'm planning to write my great Egyptian novel at some point after I finish my current bunch of stories that I've got to get published. Where's the best source where I can get information about the First Dynasty that you would recommend?
I would look at David Wengrow, Toby Wilkinson, and probably a new book by Aidan Dodson, which will be out in a year and a half. And also I would check and see, if you read German, what has been written in the German, because they have been working in Abydos, so there will be stuff on Mary Neith there that is worth knowing about, certainly.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Next question.
Hi,
Yes.
Salima.
Oh, hi.
Hello from love your work. I love your enthusiasm for all things ancient Egypt. It's very infectious. So thank you for that. My question is about the coffin texts. I've got copies of them, but I was wanting to know if there is a book or something that you could recommend that would help to better that kind of dissects them a little bit, or talks a little bit more about like some of the symbology, because I get some of it, but sometimes there are these strings of things that they're talking about, and I'm sure that it's connected somehow to their ancient daily life or things like that, and I just am unaware of what those things are. So is there any book that you could recommend on something like that?
Well, basically, I would say that with ancient Egyptian religion, most of what we write is bollocks, because we don't really know. There are good translations of the coffin texts, which also give you bibliography, which is probably the safest route to go, because there's also a lot of rubbish that's written about them. Unfortunately, there is not a book about the coffin text that I'm aware of. There are some in, how is your German?
No German. I'm one of the terrible Americans. I speak English. I have one language.
That's good, but I mean, then there are some articles in English on coffin texts, and I would look on the website, which comes out of, I can't remember, it comes out of a German university, but the website's in English, of people who are studying on coffin texts, and there is a good bibliography there. But they are very specific things. So anything that has been written by Hornung or James Allen on these subjects would be useful to you, but there are many other people who've written about coffin texts. But let me just say that 90% of the time we have no real clue as to what is being said.
Yes, I've got the translation. Somebody mentioned the R.O. Faulkner's coffin text. Those are the ones.
Faulkner's,
Yeah.
good. That's
Yeah.
an old one, but a very good one, but there's a lot more stuff there, yeah.
Oh, is there another translation that you would recommend?
No, I would go with the Faulkner translation, but you know, there's certain spells and so on. So go on that website, see, it comes out of a university in Germany. Don't know where it is precisely.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Dr.
Thank
Salima, may I say something really quickly? Curtis, is that okay?
Sure. Hi, Maria.
Hi, I'm Marissa. Hi.
Sorry.
I feel like I know you guys, even though I've never met you in person. My name is Marissa, and I'm a private professional museum educator here in New York City, focusing on ancient Egypt and ancient
Great.
Rome.
Great.
And Dr. Ikram, I talk about you all the time when I speak to especially children. I use you as an example. I have a picture of you walking in the Egyptian Museum, and I point out that you're a woman, and she's, you know, I bring that up a lot.
I'm brown,
Yes.
I'm female, I'm short, and now I have a limp. So it's really great.
And I watched you on National Geographic, how you made a mummy, those two little girls, and now I do that with children all the time, and I give you all the credit. So I'm always talking about you. And I just want to thank you for this access.
My pleasure. And that is what it is about. I want to share my enthusiasm. And obviously you're sharing it on, which is great. And
Thousands,
I do think this is what I like to do, is actually kids are the most interesting and intelligent and questioning bunch of people and as an audience. And I, in fact, get my best ideas when I lecture children because they ask the most penetrating questions.
I agree. I've had to edit my I have 25 PowerPoints depending on what my topic is, and I'm constantly changing. But you're in it, you're in them. So thank you. And I have a lot of enthusiasm too. So it's wonderful to finally meet you and everybody else.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Marissa. I messaged you. I think I wanted to set up an interview with you sometime. So
let's do it. I've got my room. I'm ready.
Great. Let's talk. And I think we'll open up for the last question from the audience. Who's up? Anybody with a question?
I guess everyone's done. Excellent.
I think we've talked them out. I did receive 2 texts. Oh, we have Khadija. Hi, Khadija.
Hi, guys. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm in Egypt, and I wondered if things are working over here. Hi, Salima. Good to see you, darling. I met you a long time ago at Woodside.
That's right.
And I want to thank you, Curtis, for bringing us all together. This has been wonderful. After I figured out how to use it, that is. But anyway, I just saw Dr. Kemp. I saw him about a week ago as I was going back from Cairo, and I want you to know he's doing great. And he is still in Amarna. He said he's not planning to go back to the UK with Corona, so he's up there still.
No, I know that.
They have a wonderful dig house up there. And I just kind of blew in with the wind. He didn't know I was coming. I sent him an email, and I showed up there around 2. And that's the first time I'd met him, but we knew about each other for 50 years. That's how long it's been since I've been in contact with him. I'm very interested in the Amarna period, as everybody is. But I mean, I was interested in it 50 years ago, before it became popular, and wrote 3 books about Akhenaten, novels. I write novels.
Oh, nice.
So I like to bring ancient Egypt to life and teach it in a way that people read a story and they get caught up in. And so Dr. Kemp walked out, and I took one look at him and I went, whoa, here comes intellect, man. You can't believe.
Darling, don't call it Dr. Kemp. He hates it. Call him Mr. Kemp.
He's amazing. So, you know, again, Curtis, thank you for bringing us together. So I'll shut up and let someone else talk.
Thank you, Khadija.
Thank you.
Salima, I received a text message from Sophia Aziz. She just said, I must tell you that she adores you. So
oh, sweet.
And then another Sophia sent me a text message with a question. She wanted to know, Sophia McLean wanted to know, how is it possible to buy things in a shop to mummify something at home?
What does she mean by that? I mean, you can buy if you're in Egypt, it's very easy. You can go to buy natron, and you can buy alum, and you can buy spices, and you can buy the frankincense and myrrh, because that's what I do. And you can go to the butcher and buy your corpse.
Okay, so I think we are done with questions from the audience. Thank you everybody for watching. Salima, before you go, I want to know, what earrings are you wearing?
I'm wearing my best earrings.
Okay, good.
Best earrings.
Great. And the rings,
I've got my priest ring from the Louvre, and then I've got various Greek rings, and so I'm Ptolemaic as well.
Oh,
So
good.
I thought I'd wear a good array for you, Curtis.
Well, I'm dressed up for you too. Look at all this jewelry I found to wear for you. So.
And I was noticing because as you know, I love jewelry. And that the delightful iris and luster is making me 2 pairs of earrings to wear. So I'm very happy.
I can't wait to see them. I can't wait.
Oh, there's a nice necklace that Marissa was showing.
Well,
Let's see. Nice.
Oh, lovely. Faience.
Yeah, Khadiga's wearing various things. You've got your sechmet on. Beautiful. So there we are.
And I've got my little, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah, that's not little, Curtis. Not little.
For me, this is little.
I was going to wear something really big, and I thought that would just be too much, but I should have worn it for you next time.
Next time.
Ooh.
But
Yeah.
you said you said you're Ptolemaic. In my book, I actually have a picture of a Fayum mummy portrait that I dedicated to you. We don't know her name, but she looked like you.
Oh, thank you.
When I see you in Egypt finally, I'm going to give you that book.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much. It was an honor talking to you, and chat soon, and be safe. Take care of yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Salima. Thank you so much. Thank you, Curtis. We'll be in touch.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you, everyone.
I hope it goes well, and I hope Vivian finishes her knitting.
Feel well, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Salima.
Bye. Very entertaining afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gil. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Vanessa. Thanks, Vivian. Bye.
Bye.